So we are about to start our webinar. First of all, could you please let me know if you can see and hear me well? Could you put a plus in the chat so that we are sure you can? Cool, thank you. So let's get started. So my name is Olena Bachkareva. I am the academic director, teacher, and teacher trainer here at Greater Education Center. And we are here to talk about Cambridge exam B2 for schools. We are going to talk about tips and strategies for preparation. But first of all, I'd like to give the floor to my colleague, Zoya, and she is going also to share with you some useful information. So, Zoya?
Good evening. Good evening. It's an honor to be at such an event. My name is Zoya Bazova, and I manage a partnership program in Center Grade. I also am a speaker at many informational events for school students, their parents and teachers. And in general, talking about recognized rating systems, people call two, IELTS and FCE. Today we talk about FCE. I would love to give you some reasons why FCE is popular, why so many students, and I know this from my practical activity, why so many students are aware about their certificate and their exam, and why it is so demanded. First of all, FCE is an exam, and it's very organic to school curriculum. So having been prepared for exam level B2, students will face the tasks at level B2. Second, exam FCE for schools has been developed exactly for schoolers, taking into consideration their age and their environment. And when students pass the exam, they deal with the familiar situations. FCE is exam for school students, not adults. Third reason is that certificate B2 first FCE is recognized in more than 27,000 establishments, both educational and business around the world. And I mentioned the competitor of FCE, IELTS. It's very perhaps maybe unnecessary to know, but I would like to stress out that both are originally developed by Cambridge. So FCE is recognized almost everywhere where IELTS is recognized. And talking about our local situation in Ukraine, I wanted to point out that according to a decree provided by Ministry of Education and Science in 2019, certificate B2 first FCE gives students possibility to pass exam in 11th grade. We are about to get the update for this decree, but the discrepancy expected is not that high, not that much. Basically, at the moment, me and my colleagues from the exam department are very busy because Cambridge announced only 2 dates for B2 first FCE in Ukraine. It's 26th of March and 9th of April. And in frame of partnership, we take exam sessions at the locations of our school partners. In order to implement preparation at school, our tutors consult our partners and hold free seminars for teachers. We also arrange, as I mentioned, informational events for students and their parents in Zoom. Basically, they are informative video conferences. It's a live conversation where we share information about the exams, the value of certificate, and answer questions from students and their parents. And for those who is interested in some promotion, in publicity, for example, we also have option to share our media resources and share information and news about our partners in our media. For the whole 13-year experience, for our loan activity in examination and preparation for Cambridge English exams, we have established already a community with our partners. There are many stories of success, many stories of challenges, and it is already a demand from teachers to know these stories. We would love to pursue that. So later on today, or perhaps tomorrow, you will get a follow-up letter from the necessary information of this seminar. And also you will get the information about our partnership program. I really would love you to consider participation in our Cambridge exam community. My part is over, thank you, but I will stay with you, and should you have any questions, please, you may address me in chat. Thank you, Elena.
Great. Thank you very much, Zoya. Thank you for the presentation and all this interesting information. Great. Before we start, a couple of more things, how we are going to handle our communication. I'm kindly ask you to stay muted so that we avoid some noises, but our form of communication is chat. Feel free to send your questions, comments. Sometimes I will ask you to answer some questions, right? And we can basically allocate some time at the end of the session for kind of question and answer slot. But still, if you have questions during our webinar, feel free to send them to me in our Zoom chat, and I will do my best to answer the questions. All right. So let's get started. Okay, so what basically are we going to talk about in our today's webinar? I'll briefly have an overview of the benefits of taking the exam. Basically, my colleague Zoya has already mentioned quite a lot of them. It will be just a brief rounding off. Then we are going to refresh the structure, and we'll have a better understanding what the exam is composed of, what parts. Then I will provide you with some tips on how to organize the preparation basically for the exam that could be of interest for you as teachers. And finally, there will be some useful tips and strategies for preparation, something that you can incorporate in your lessons to make the most of the preparation for the exam. So before we start, could you please send some information in the Zoom, how far you know the exam? Maybe you have taken the exam yourself. Maybe you have successfully prepared your students, or maybe you haven't done anything, but you would like to know more. So can you briefly text this information in the chat, share your experience of working with B2 for school exam. I see preparing students, I want to know more. All right. Nothing but interested, great, Natalie. Want to know more, preparing students, good. Okay, anything else? I see preparing students. Good. Preparing students. Nice. Learn more. Okay. Yeah, ZNO is also good experience. Took myself. Great, Alina. Yeah, want to know more in the future, prepare students. Okay. And my son. Sure. That's the priority, Katerina. Preparing students. Okay. Right. Want to know up to date. Good. Advance the skills in exams prep. Great. So I see that the major reasons are either you are preparing the students yourself, and the second reason, even if you do it, you would like to know more and to use it either in preparation at present or in the future. Well done. Good. Yeah, a couple of words about why it is beneficial to take exams. Yeah, and here I'd like to share this quote from Cambridge English.org that learning English is more than just exams, and it's the way to help your students build up their confidence so that they can communicate successfully, and they have this life-changing experience, and they can have more opportunities to make their life better. And the Cambridge qualifications, and B2 first, one of them, was like designed for school children, for students, in order to give them some kind of regular milestones and to keep them motivated. Because we know we all learn English, and the children and teenagers are not that motivated. So the opportunity to take an exam can be a great motivation for them, can keep them really motivated, and that can add the feeling of achievement. All right. Yeah, so this is a kind of the journey of the student, and today we are going to talk about one of the steps, this B2 first for schools. Cool. So just briefly to summarize some advantages of taking exams for schools and B2 in particular. First of all, as my colleague Zoe has mentioned, they are officially recognized language STEM exams, basically worldwide. The quality is proven among the educational institutions. Yeah, this is a very attractive point for our students, that successfully passed B2 exam is the mark DPA for our school leavers. Then there are exams for a wide range of level and skills, and the most important thing that the skills that you develop in your students are transferable. For example, once you have developed some skills for Cambridge exams, they can be transferred for, let's say, ZNO exams, right? So they are of great, and basically these skills and strategies can be transferred not only for exam situation, but also for any life situation, I would say. Yeah, so the great advantage of exams that they are secure, reliable, and fair. So the system has been developed in such a way that all the students are given equal opportunities, and they are evaluated and assessed in a fair way. This is a very attractive point, is that unlike IELTS, for example, or TOEFL, the Cambridge exams like B2 first does not have expiry date, and just the mark at the exam shows that on a particular date you demonstrated language skills at the specified level, but again, no expiry date. And this is one more way of how you can upgrade your English. All right. So can it be taken by 10-year-old students? 10-year, do you mean 10-year-old students? Probably only if the student has a B2 level, upper intermediate 10 form. Well, yeah, right, it can be taken, definitely. If the student demonstrates B2 level, sure, it can be taken by 10 form students, definitely. And yeah, so this is the testing of all the skills. One more great advantage. Good. So let's do a bit of a quiz. Let's see how much you know about the exam format. Now I'm going to show you 7 statements, and your task will be to decide if they're true or false as for the exam format. Okay. Please take 2 minutes to think, to read the questions, to read the statements, and decide on the answer. All right. Good. So these are the statements. Take 2 minutes and decide if they are true or false as for the exam format. Yeah, true or false for all 7 statements. Yes, Alena, but please don't send the answers now. Yeah. Think about all 7 statements. Natalia, you have made a very nice comment here. We will talk about this a bit later. But that's interesting. Okay, 1 minute more. You have 1 minute more to think about the statements. Guys, please just wait a little bit and we will go step by step, discuss all the questions. Please don't send your answers now. All right. Okay, so let's get started. I see that some participants are impatient and they are ready to start. So let's go one statement at a time. So could you please type your answer to the first statement? So there are 4 parts of the exam. 4 papers, I would say. All right. Only question 1, statement 1. All right. Good. Okay, thank you. Yes, agree with the majority of you. Yeah, there are 4 parts, let's say 4 papers. And the thing is that reading and use of English are organized in 1 paper. And so then we have reading and use of English as 1 paper, then writing, listening, and speaking as the 4th part. Thank you. What about statement 2? And only statement 2. Speaking is one-to-one with the examiner. So true or false? Okay. Right. So basically this is false because there are 2 test takers, there are 2 people, or sometimes even 3, right? And so because they have some collaborative task, there is a collaborative task during which the test taker has to collaborate together with another test taker, right? And there are basically 2 examiners, 2 people who evaluate the answer. Yeah, I saw that somebody raised their hands, but I can't see it now. Is it still, can you type your answers please in the chat, or question, or whatever comment, then I'll be able to react this quicker. Great, so there are 2 test takers, or 3 sometimes. Good, let's move on to statement 3. Use of English has a keyword transformation task in B2 for school exam. True or false? Okay. 5 parts. Yeah, Natalia, yes, 5 parts. I would say 4 papers, I would say. And because reading and use of English is combined into 1, let's say. Okay, I would change it into papers. Sorry for misleading you. Right. Okay. So yeah, this is true. Absolutely agree with you. And basically, that's something is that makes this exam different from key or key exam or B1 exam, A2 or B1 exam, right? Good. All right. Statement number 4, writing has 2 parts and the test taker can choose the task for both parts. Right. Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is false. The test taker can choose only one. In paper 1, in task 1, there is no choice. It's an essay, but in part 2, there can be a choice. I agree with you here. Good. Let's move on. Statement 5, writing includes an email and a story. True or false? All right. Yeah, exactly. This is false. This is more typical. This combination is more typical for B1 exam. Yeah, but for B2, this could be some other reviews, for example, right? Something different. Great. Number 6, reading includes such tasks as multiple choice, gap text, multiple matching. True or false? All right, we have some very, very experienced teachers. Yeah, this is true. Right, agree with you here. And the final question, the test takers listen only once. Okay, yeah, right. Basically, yeah, Natalia has given the answer. Yeah, this is false. And the test takers listen 2 times. That's an advantage for this exam, because in IELTS, yes, in IELTS, we do listen 1. Yeah, Katerina, exactly. Great, great, well done. So let's very briefly go through the format again. So like this, as I said, reading, use of English, like paper 1, and students, test takers come across such tasks as multiple choice, open close, word formation, keyword transformation, gap text, multiple matching, multiple choice. As for the writing, essay is a must, something that students cannot choose. But as for article, email, or letter, review, or story, they have a choice. Okay, I'm sorry. Right. Okay. Right. Good. Then, as for listening, the test takers have this multiple choice task, multiple choice of short dialogues, gap fill task, multiple choice of the interview. So there will be different there will be different types of the text, like dialects and monologues and one interview. Right, so the students are quite challenged here, yeah, but they do listening twice, they do it twice. And speaking for parts, the interview, extended turn, discussion, that's the collaborative task, and some general conversation between the examiner and the test taker, or between 2 or 3 test takers. Right, do you have any questions as for the structure, the format of the exam, let's say? Is that clear? Okay, seems to be clear. Good. So let's move on to some things that we as teachers need to remember when we organize exam preparation. Right? Some tips. Comment on extended turn, just a second. Yeah, we will look at the speaking a bit, Alona, we are going to look at the format of each task and some tips a bit later, all right? So I will mention it a bit later. Good. First thing, we need to remember that this particular exam confirms that the test taker, the student, has this already upper intermediate B2 level. And that's why we should remember that exam preparation is suitable for the student who already have this level. Because sometimes there can be a situation when you're asked if the student has intermediate level and whether he or she can take the preparation and take the exam, possibly, but unfortunately in this case the results may not be that good, and the students might not score very high. So ideally it's for the students who already have B2 level, maybe weakish B level, but okay, I mean not the strongest one, but okay, more or less of the medium level, let's say. What's an important thing is to make an emphasis on strategies development, because basically students need to understand how to deal with the task, how to deal, which strategy to choose, so that they can spend not so much time on preparing, and what their actions should be like, and in what order, what they should underline, what they should ignore. So strategies are really important when we talk about exam preparation and taking exams. This is important. Make sure that your students are familiar with the exam format, so that they know what to expect. For example, that they know that they can choose some tasks for the writing, for example. They should know that they will listen twice, for example, and how many texts they are going to read, how many parts in the reading, and what kind of task they have for use of English, when they have choice options to choose from, when they don't have options to choose from, and stuff like that. So please familiarize them with the exam format. All right. Yeah, and one more important thing that I would like to highlight is that exam preparation classes are not only about doing exam tasks, as some of us may expect, because yeah, of course the main emphasis in exam preparation classes is on preparing for exam and developing exam strategies. But still, if we keep doing the tasks all the time, our students can get bored, and they may not develop that much. So still remember that even exam preparation classes are about developing skills, and they are about upgrading their language. Though, of course, this is not kind of priority for us. Still, we should work on upgrading the language and developing skills, definitely. So we should work on the mistakes and draw students' attention to some weaker areas. And for example, while doing let's say tasks on use of English, we can help and extend their vocabulary range, for example, and they can learn, let's say, phrasal verbs or the use of some other words in the new context. All right. Yeah, so basically how to organize exam preparation, because that could be very often a difficult issue. So what to start and where to start. So first of all, you need to decide if that's going to be kind of specialized course, or you would like to incorporate exam preparation as a part of the course syllabus. So that's crucial, because then because there are some things that depend on your decision here. So then the length of the course will depend on this. Of course, the more the better, but very often students are short of time and they don't have a lot of time to prepare for exams. So yeah, if that's an exam preparation that's going to be incorporated in regular classes, then you should plan to start this exam preparation like in advance. You should allow more time, allocate more time for that, enough time for that. If that's a specialized course, it could be shorter, but again, make sure that it's not daunting for your students and they're not overwhelmed with the material. Don't expect to make a kind of 2-week course and prepare them for the exam and let them go. Yeah, so think about this, what kind of course you're going to organize, to have with the students. Think about the syllabus and it's the minimum, the program, and check the exam dates, because I hope you remember that it should take some time for Cambridge to deliver the certificates, and that's why choose the exam date carefully. And knowing when your students are going to take the exam, you can decide how many lessons you can allocate for the exam preparation, and you will see, depending on how many lessons, how much time you have, you will see how to organize the syllabus. Maybe your student is strong in listening, but the reading is the weak point. Maybe you would put more effort into reading, let's say. But yeah, all parts, of course, are important, but I mean, you may put more emphasis on particular weak points, as I have mentioned. Yeah, choose the exam format. We have 2 formats of the exam, that's paper-based and computer-based. And depending on this, organize the preparation. If you go for the paper-based exam, make sure that the students do all the tasks, they write all the tasks. For example, your students, again, need to know that if we're talking about reading in paper-based version, they will not have extra time to transfer their answers to the answer sheet. While in the computer-based version, there is no need to transfer the answers, so the students have like more time for that. So make sure that you know the details of both formats and you inform your students about them as well, so that they're fully equipped and prepared on the exam day. Again, if you choose the computer-based format, that's fine. But again, in this case, ask your students to type your answers, because the students sometimes are not familiar how to work with the laptop, maybe, or computer, because they tend to work a lot with the phones, yeah, and working with the laptop may not be that convenient. So make sure that they know how to do that. They are comfortable doing that. Okay, exam preparation materials, yeah, so choose them carefully. So try to choose the original one and think how you will incorporate them in the lesson. And it's a good idea maybe if you include exam preparation component in your regular course. Maybe if you do listening, for example, you can select, let's say, the text which is of the similar kind, let's say multiple choice, and you can also practice this exam preparation material. Exam strategies, I have mentioned them previously. That's the key components of the exam preparation course, developing these exam strategies in order to strengthen them. You can include them even in your regular lessons. For example, when students do the reading or do the listening, you can ask them to underline the keywords, or you can ask your students to predict the answers. And you can ask them to find the proof in the text, to find some evidence so that they are sure this is the correct answer. So you can start incorporating the strategies in your regular lessons. Okay, yeah, another important part of the exam preparation, that's timed practice. Of course, when students do the tasks as a part of the homework or in class, we don't always recreate the exam conditions. And on the exam day, the students are going to be really stressed. And if they are not accustomed to doing time practice, that will be another stress for them. So make sure that you organize this timed practice, like, guys, you have 5 minutes for that, or you have 10 minutes to read the text, and so on and so on, and explain to them that it's really important so that they can develop this feeling of time and they are able to do the task within this time limits. Once your students have practiced, have worked with the, let's say, all reading tasks or listening, you can organize mock tests. That's the test that imitates real exam conditions. You can find the tasks on the official website, let's say, and you can do the tasks with the students, or just taking the past papers test and again, practice them with the students. So that's a must, that's really important. And once you have done this time practice and mock test, your students will be more prepared, there will be less stress for them on the exam day. Okay, good. Just a second. Okay, so any questions as for this exam preparation? Can we move on? Okay, seems to be no. Right, good. So what I suggest is let's have a look at the each of the section in detail, and I'll provide you with some these tips and strategies on which you can use in your lessons. Okay, so talking about reading. So here are some of the useful tips that you can use, like you can teach your students, and you can again even do later in your regular classes. Okay, before we start, there is a question from Natalia: how many hours to prepare students for exam? Well, Natalia, it's hard to say, because that depends on what level your students or student has. So you need to start from there. Just evaluate the current level. You can ask your student, if the student is strong, you can basically ask them to do this diagnostic test, a kind of mock test, to see like what tasks the student deals successfully with. And if the more than 1 year, right? Yeah, for sure. More than 1 year could be the answer. Again, if the student has a weakish B2, right? But again, you can start with kind of diagnostic test to see how the student can do in the test, and then basing on this, you can see what can be done. Maybe if this is not B2 level, maybe it's a good idea to start with upgrading the current level and then continue with the preparation, right? All the words with the capital letters. Okay, Margarita has a question as for how to write the answers in the listening. Well, basically, to be on the safe side, the thing is that spelling is important. If you make a mistake in spelling, that's a problem. But to be on the safe side, you can write all the words in capital letters, and that's fine. Absolutely. But again, make sure and you read the task carefully, what the task instruction says to do, but that's possible. You can write all the words and all the answers in the capital letters in all the top parts, and that will be fine. Okay, getting back to reading. So what can be useful tips for your students? First of all, ask them to underline the keywords in the questions, right? Ask them to rephrase. Why? Because they need to locate the part of the text where the answer is hidden, so to say. And very often the keywords in the questions are not the same as in the text. They are paraphrased. These are synonyms, or so to say parallel phrases. So ask your students to think about possible synonyms to the keywords in the questions, and let them find some synonyms in the text. In such a way, we locate the part of the text which your students need to analyze in detail later. Basically, we're not working with all the text. We work with some particular parts which we read in detail and try to find the answer. Multiple choice task. So this is a very interesting tip. For me personally, multiple choice task used to be the most complicated one, because there are 4 options, and all of them are so close, and they're so misleading, and you have to be really careful and to notice the differences between the options. So my colleague recommended me this tip, and I hope that I have solved my problem with multiple choice. Now I'm going to share with you. So read the question, ask your students to read the question and underline the keywords there. And at this moment, if possible, of course, if you have like quite a long question, don't look at the options. So ask your students to look back at the text, and using the keywords in the question, find the answer in the text. And only after that, look at the options, evaluate them, and choose the one that fits the answer in the text. Because what we normally do is read the question, we read the options, underline the keywords everywhere, and after that, look at the text and try to find the answer there. Then we get back to the question, read again the options, eliminate, like, let's say 2 of them, and try to decide between 2 which are left. Well, this can work, this is fine, but you can try and use this option. Like, first, read only the question without the options. Right? There is a question: the main magic way to improve understanding of the hard texts that are authentic ones. Natalia, in this case, I would say, first of all, analyze the question as carefully as you can. Because the better you understand the question, or your students understand the question, the higher chances are that you will get the right answer. So start with the question. First of all, you should have clear understanding what you're asked to do and what kind of information you need to find. Okay, we sometimes have one option that we don't need here. Yeah, exactly. So we have these distractors, and so this could be eliminated straight away, for sure. Okay, gap text. So how can you help your students here? So ask your students to pay special attention to such reference words as it, he, they, and they can signal, they can refer to the connection between the texts. Yeah, for example, if in the, let's say I'm thinking about the whether this sentence is suitable for the gap, and I can see he at the beginning, then I understand. Then in the previous line in the text, they should be reference for a man, yeah, or they. Okay, I see that this is the reference to like people in the plural, let's say friends, or maybe teachers or students or something. And another tip: ask your students to read attentively the first sentence before and after, the sentences before and after the gap. That's really important. And then you can see if the the option you are thinking of is suitable there or not. If this sentence and the sentences before and after the gap make a good fit, right? So pay attention to this. Okay, and multiple matching. So we underline. So again, start with analyzing the question, underline the keywords in the statements, and read the paragraphs one at a time and try to find the matching statements. So that always works. I understand that the text can be complicated, but again, teach your students to analyze the task, to underline the keywords, to think about the synonyms, and teach them to find these synonyms, parallel phrases in the text. That works. All right, another question. In the no one noticed the help that after the gap is before the gap. Natalia, I can't say for sure whether this is the rule that we should look at the information only before the gap, just to be on the say, where I can find, okay. Not always so, yeah, be careful with that. Thank you, Natalia. But it's a good idea to double check and look at the information both before and after the gap, right? Just to be really sure about that. Good. Any questions as for the reading part? Seems to be no. Okay. Anyway, feel free to post your questions during our meeting. Good. Let's move on. And next thing is going to be use of English. That probably causes quite a lot of problems and questions. All right, good. So, and first of all, we are going to have a look at open close, the situation when we have the text with the gap. Just a second, the question. So should we need to draw students' attention to grammar in the gap test, such as tenses or verbs regular? Yeah, right, Vita, absolutely right. It's a good idea also to draw students' attention to the grammar moments, exactly. Right, but still, yeah, make sure that this, I would say, I would call it a fit between the sentences that are around the gap, match with the the option you are choosing, right? And see that it makes sense, both grammatically, lexically, and well, in terms of sense itself. All right, good. So getting back to use of English. So open close, the task when we have a gap and the students need to think of the word. And this time we don't have any options. So what's important to remember that here the main focus is on grammar, and the missing words normally are pronouns, articles, quantifiers, modal verbs, conjunctions, prepositions, and so on, rather than some notional verbs. So again, our strategy, what should we do here? We read the sentence and we try, first of all, to guess the part of speech. What's that? Preposition, or maybe that's a modal verb, or maybe that's an article that's missing. And another thing is that we are looking at the words which are around the gap. Now we are going to try this ourselves, but please, I kindly ask you not to send any answers now. Yeah, just I will tell you when to. All right, thank you for understanding. Because what we need to do is to develop the strategy. So let's have a look at this sentence. So I work a motorbike stunt rider. That is, I do tricks on my motorbike at shows. So we need to decide what part of speech we need here. I work a motorbike stunt rider. So can I ask you to suggest what part of speech we need here? So what should it be? What kind of word should it be? Like article, pronoun, preposition? But please don't send the answers. Okay, preposition. Good, thank you. Agree with you, the preposition. Right. Now, we are looking at the words around the gap, and we need to decide maybe these words all together make a kind of set expression. So I work and then we have a profession. I work plus profession. So now, can you please text the answer in the chat? All right, good, well done. As, sure, definitely. So now we can write, and I work as a motorbike stunt rider. Fits perfectly well, good. So again, just to recap, identify the part of speech that you need here, and then look at the words around the gap to see if they form a kind of set expression. Maybe that's a modal verb, idiom, whatever. All right. Good. Let's move on. Another complicated task, multiple choice, open, close. Quite similar, but this time students have 4 options to choose from. And here the main focus is on expressions, again, phrasal verbs, linkers. Again, what can be done here? So read this sentence with the gap. Try not to look at the options. Again, try to guess the missing word without looking at the options. Again, following the same strategy, identify the part of speech that's missing and look at the words around the gap. And only after that, look at the options and choose the best one. Let's try and do now. Again, I kindly ask you not to type the answers in the chat now. So let's have a look at the sentence. One important thing, we are focusing on number 1. We skip 0, we look at number 1. All right. So look at gap number 1 and try and predict what can be missing here. Well, if you think about the particular word, feel free to type it. Okay, we have one option. It's noun. Okay. All right. But again, we are looking at number 1, not 0, number 1. Okay, good. So let's look at the options. Are you sure about your answer? All right, cool. Yeah, answer is B, definitely. But we understand that it's about comparison. So we are comparing family history with national word history. And well, basically, sooner can be also used in the comparison, but we see here this word then, and we know that there is a fixed phrase, something rather than something else. Right? Yeah, B is the correct answer here. Sure, this then can help us a lot here. Good. And let's have a look at the word formation, another part. So what do we need to do here? We need to basically form the word. And how can we do that? Again, we look at the gap, we try to decide which part of speech it should be, and then we form as many derivatives as possible and choose the best one. But again, don't forget about prefixes and compound words, right? Okay. Again, let's try and do this. So here our keyword is product. And what I'll ask you to do is, could you please type here the part of speech that's missing? Noun, adjective, verb, pronoun. So what's missing here? The part of speech. All right. Okay, agree with it. Yeah, this is the noun. And we know quite a lot of nouns. So try to make the nouns and choose the one that you think is the most suitable, and please type your answer. Okay. Well, yeah. So there can be, yeah, definitely, at least we can make 2 nouns like production and producer. And we need to choose the best one. So here we are talking about China, and we can think that it's more about like China as the active participant in this process. So let's choose producer, which is the correct answer. Good, thank you. And producer, oh, thank you very much. That's an important thing. Good. Now, the most, I would say, difficult part of use of English that our students come across, that's keyword transformation. When we need to basically paraphrase the sentence so that it means the same using the keyword given to us. So the advice here can be as follows. So in the sentence with the gap, cross out the words, like look at the sentence with the gap and cross out the words mentioned in the original sentence. And then use this keyword and think how to use the remaining words and how to change the grammar. Let's try and do this. So that's our task. The original sentence is, a very friendly taxi driver drove us into town. The keyword is driven, we have to use it and we can't change it. And then we have the beginning. So what I'll ask you to do is, please look at the second sentence and cross out the words which are repeated. Like we need to cross out the words in the original sentence, which are repeated here. So which words should we cross out? Can you type the words that we need to cross out? Okay, right. Yeah, thank you, Nadia. Yes. Okay, a very friendly taxi driver. Anything else? Us. Okay, good. So let's see what can we cross out? A very friendly taxi driver, us. So what is left? Drove, which is changed into driven, and into town. Okay, so let's think about the grammar. The first sentence, is it active or passive? The first sentence, the original. Active. So, but we start with we. So what kind of grammar should we use here in the second sentence? Okay, thank you. Yeah, we do need to use the passive here, but remember, yeah, some of you have typed it in the past. Good. Now, can you please type the correct answer? Only the words that are missing here. All right, all right. Okay, yeah, so there is a variety of the answers. Yes, the answer is were driven into town by. So the thing is that nothing should be skipped here. If we skip by, this is not correct grammatically. Or into town, again, we have to use it because into town, the phrase was used in the original sentence. So make sure you don't skip the important words and make sure that your sentence is grammatically correct. Yes, into town is also important. Yeah, so we were driven into town by the very friendly driver. All right, good. So writing, the next part. So what's important here? So it's a good idea if you familiarize the students with the criteria and explain what's going to be evaluated in the students' writing. So you can help your students by creating the checklists, and when they do self-evaluation, or you can organize peer chat. So your students will have this clear checklist, and they will be able to decide if the writing meets the criteria or not. So what's important to pay attention to? The content. So basically, did you write about what you were asked about to write or not? So does it match the task or not? Did you achieve the task successfully or not? Then this communicative achievement, was the writing too formal, too informal, or just right? So again, that depends on the task. If that's informal email, so some certain conventions should be used. Or if that's formal essay, again, make sure that you don't use, your students are familiar what the formal style is, they don't use contractions, they don't use slang, for example, and let's say incomplete sentences and so on. Organization, are the paragraphs linked, and are the sentences linked logically, let's say? Is there a flow, logical flow from the start to finish, or are the paragraphs like odd parts here and they don't belong to this logical sequence? The language, that's about, well, grammar and vocabulary. So like, that's a good one, I like it. Did you show off your sparkling vocabulary, or did you use just basic words, right? Yeah, did you make a lot of grammar or spelling mistakes? So did you use a variety of grammar here, right? Or just did you use some nice linkers? And so on and so forth. So do you create this checklist for the students? You can create them together, but students need to understand what's going to be evaluated. Explain to them importance of, for example, separating the paragraphs, not just to write the text as one big chunk, because then the score will be lower for that, for example. Again, if that's the paper-based test, make sure that the handwriting is readable, right? For example, yeah, or the students can type quickly if that's computer-based test and they don't make typos, for example. All right. Okay, listening, next part. Again, some tips for developing strategies. Ask your students always to read the task before they listen to, and ask them to underline the keywords again in the task and the options. Again, see if they can paraphrase, and while listening, encourage them to catch the synonyms or the parallel phrases, right? If there are some gaps, so some information is missing, teach your students to predict what kind of information is missing, at least the part of speech, or at least you can understand that it's going to be about something positive or negative, right? Or here I need to write some part of the body, let's say, or here I will need to write some kind of person's character, the trait of person's character, let's say, or here it's about appearance. So make sure that they can predict this information, because while listening, their mind is going to catch this information, will be tuned into it. Remember, as the students listen twice, ask them, encourage them to answer as many questions as possible during the first listening, and so that they can check their ideas when they listen to the task for the second time. So that's a very good idea. All right. Okay, speaking, the final part in the exam. What's important here? Again, make sure that your students understand the format of each part, what they should do, where they speak on their own, where they speak together, whether they need to listen to what their partner is saying or not, and so on and so on. So what's happening actually? Encourage your student while answering to offer more than just bare minimum. It means that your students need to answer a bit more than just the exact answer to the question, right? Because basically the main purpose is to provide the examiner with the like language sample, so to say, so that he or she would be able to evaluate your students. So just tell them to tell more. Another thing, again, encourage your students to avoid just giving yes, no answers. So encourage them to say more, or maybe they can say, well, no, I don't like this, but encourage them to give the reason why you don't like that. Or maybe there is something else that you like and you can talk about this. Right, okay. So a quick comment here. So Alona, thank you so much. You will provide it with the follow-up letter and I guess the recording as well. So no worries about that. Good. Yeah, giving examples. Yeah, so how can your students extend the statement or your answer? They can give examples, for example. They can give the reasons. They can contrast with the past, or they can talk about imaginary situation. Like, do you like reading? You can say, well, unfortunately, no, because I'm giving the reasons I don't have time. But if I had, or if I did, if I had some time, I would do this and this and this. Oh, thank you very much, Natalia. That's fine. Long term, yeah, so here, make sure that you teach your students how to compare, how to contrast the pictures, that they use some signposting language to structure their response, and that they can use the language of hypothesizing, speculating what the people might be doing on stuff like that. Talking about the discussion, encourage your students not only to express their opinions, but also to ask the partner, right? And make sure that they listen, your students listen to their partner's answer and they respond adequately, because here, like, interaction is important, right? And yeah, so and allow some space for interaction, not just expressing their opinion, and teach them how to show interest in what their partner says or is going to say. So that's all very, very important here, right? Okay, good. Okay, basically, we are done, right? Thank you so much for your active participation. Do you have questions to me concerning this? I was trying to include as many things as possible by providing you with some ideas on how to organize the preparation process and some strategies that might be helpful in your classes. Right. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm happy to see that you found this informative. Great. Okay. So how much time does the exam last? So if we talk about well, there are breaks after each part. So that's a very good thing about Cambridge exams. So it's something like about 3 hours plus speaking, right? Okay, good. So thank you very much for your participation. You will be provided with the follow-up email containing all the necessary information. I wish you a lovely evening, and I hope to see you in our events in the future. Right, goodbye.